Good morning. This week on Capital City Sunday, a last-minute maps proposal from the Republican-controlled legislature.
We wanted to put an end to the partisanness, the lawsuits.
I believe it was an abandonment of the process. It was not done in earnest.
Why Republicans say they amended maps from our Democratic governor, and why Democrats say they still can't go along with the proposal.
The need is so enormously vast that no single program or resource can solve the problem.
Plus, Wisconsin's need for affordable housing. The head of the state's Housing and Economic Development Authority shares with us the development challenges and the buy-in they need from communities. And as the GOP releases another tax cut proposal, we examine Wisconsin's tax policies. The study that shows our system is regressive and the differing impact on people who earn a lot and those who make less. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sarah Massler-Donar. It is a deja vu moment this week for those who have been keeping up with Wisconsin's redistricting process. The legislature and Governor Tony Evers don't agree on voting maps, and the issue, as it did last cycle, likely falls to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. On Tuesday, the Senate amended the bill that would change the redistricting process in Wisconsin to a legislative maps proposal. The Assembly passed it Wednesday. Lawmakers say they're the same as what Democratic Governor Tony Evers proposed, but with fewer incumbent lawmakers having to face one another in November. I'm joined now by Representative John Macco. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So this week you referred to the maps Governor Evers proposed as punitive.
Yeah.
How does that statement reflect why Republicans in the Assembly ultimately did go with the Senate's version of the maps that changed Evers?
Well, we were trying to give them what they wanted, which is those maps there, and then just realize we wanted to put an end to the partisanness, the lawsuits, and now with the governor threatening to veto this, we would just simply perpetuate that mess. You'll remember a couple of weeks ago, we offered to put on the Iowa platform, which the governor had wanted previously, the legislature had wanted previously, and we said, okay, fine, let's go ahead and do that. And what that would have done would have established rules and policies in place for redistricting that would have been fair, that has worked in Iowa for decades, generations, and we agreed to do that, to abdicate our responsibility as legislators to do the maps and give that to a different entity and a different organization that is tried and true, and they turned that down. And so I wish they would have done that, because I am sick and tired of having all of the work that we do here redone by courts. Whether it's a Republican court or a Democratic court, it usurps the three branches of government when we are simply abdicating our responsibilities to lead to a court system. And we felt that we would simply establish a map structure that both parties could agree to, and then we could move on to governing. And apparently that's not going to happen.
What were the changes to Evers maps that were something that representatives such as yourself were looking for in terms of the boundaries? Right.
So the Senate took a look at them and they go, look, this is not what we would have done. However, some of these things are blatant gerrymandering. I mean, we had one representative that was literally carved out of his district by 15 feet. I was intentionally carved out of my district by 581 feet. 581 feet total. Now, that's not by accident. That was done intentionally. And I think the problem with that is our title is representative. This is not a game. Our job is to represent the people of the 88th District. And for decades, the 88th District has been a certain size and a certain shape. Under Republicans, under Democrats, that's the shape of it. It's where my kids went to high school. It's where I go to church. It's where we live. It's all of those things. And those are deep relationships that have been built over generations, knowing who the town chairmen is, who the village president is, the city council members, all the rest of those folks, so that we can work in harmony to deliver the representation that those citizens need. And so that's the continuity I think that voters should expect, and so that's been completely upturned.
You invoke the word gerrymandering about Evers maps.
Right.
Democrats and experts over the last several years, since the Republicans have been a majority for the last decade or so, have said these maps that are in place, well, that have been overturned, are the most among the most gerrymandered in the country. And they
Yeah, that's what they say.
favor
That's what they say, but I
Republicans.
defy anyone to show me the district that I have currently and tell me how that's been manipulated in any shape or form. I mean, it literally follows the shoreline of Green Bay, the East River. It includes all of Bellevue, all of Ledgeview, all of Denmark, all of Rockland. It doesn't cut anything up or slice things up. Now, I have one of the districts that has what they call these islands. So they look and they go, I just saw some guy post some nonsense today on my social feed showing, well, here, this is an example of what you guys did. But it's not. That's ignorance. If they would simply look at that map, realize that is the town of Ledgeview. All of it. Ledgeview goes like that. It doesn't manipulate a road or one block here or one block there. It doesn't try to loop in anybody else. That is the town of Ledgeview. And those little islands, so to speak, that is because the city of De Pere annexed all the other property, but there's some spots they didn't annex. So those remain to the town of Ledgeview. And so those are Ledgeview residents. They pay their taxes to the town of Ledgeview. They vote in the town of Ledgeview, and they are represented by the town of Ledgeview. And so to me, that was profoundly contiguous. And so I think people need to understand, they need to back off and just look intentionally and look at it and go, oh, that makes more sense now. It made more sense. Now it makes no sense. There doesn't seem to be any logic whatsoever. The maps we had were drawn to make sure that towns and villages and cities had some continuity in representation, not because of voting numbers. And so we had that. Now that's not been the case. Now the numbers have been manipulated regardless of the towns, regardless of the villages, regardless of rivers or lakes or any geographic boundary, simply to pull in certain groups of people. That, by definition, is gerrymandering.
Governor Evers has said he's going to veto these.
Yeah.
The Wisconsin Supreme Court is
Yep.
probably going to weigh in now. Are Republicans going to the U.S. Supreme Court?
I don't know that. I'm certainly not in the loop on that. But my sense is that's exactly what's going to happen. And so now what we've got is just more litigation, and it didn't have to be. They could have either A, taken the Iowa map structure that we offered months ago, or they could have taken the map program that we offered just yesterday and then let the fair fight begin. But yeah, exactly. So now you're going to have both sides, not just both sides, but then all kinds of other third parties. You now have an out-of-state third-party group suing for the congressional maps now. I mean, the only people making out in all of this nonsense are the attorneys. Millions of dollars being spent now and will continue to be spent.
Representative Macco, thanks so much for taking some time.
Thanks for having me.
Sure.